We'll start with the most national level race. I don't think we have any here for U.S. Representative District 9, Aaron Houchin, Hugh Doty, Liam Doris, or Timothy Peck. Okay. The next race would be for Indiana Governor, Mike Braun, Brad Chambers, Suzanne Crouch, Eric Doden, Curtis Hill, Jamie Rittenauer, Jennifer McCormick. All right, and then the next one, Indiana State Rep District 69, Jim Lucas, Brian Sevilla, and Trish Whitcomb. Any of you folks here? You can come on forward. Anybody in that race can come step up behind the podium here and have a seat. There's
both or one at a time?
Both at the same time. Sure. You can just have a seat at any of these chairs with the microphone. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening. Good evening.
Thank you both for being here. I want to give, and this goes for everybody who's going to be stepping up to the podium this evening, I want to give everybody just a chance to introduce yourselves, tell us your name, tell us who you are, what your background is, what your experience is, and then what your priorities are. Why are you running for office, and what priorities do you have? What do you hope to accomplish if you are elected or re-elected if you're an incumbent? All right. So, Mr. Lucas, we'll start with you.
Well, thank you for this evening, everybody that showed up and people that are watching, listening. I appreciate your time. My name is Jim Lucas, and I'm currently the state representative for District 69. A little history about me. I was born and raised in Seymour, still live there, and I am married. My wife Michelle and we have 5 children. I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I did not go to college out of high school, joined the Marine Corps, came out, worked, started my own business, and just recently we celebrated our 25th year in business as a small business owner. I am a lifelong member of Emmanuel Lutheran Church in Seymour, past elder, and currently still serve and volunteer. And I used to be one of those people that did not get into politics until 2007. Seymour City Council was making decisions that I did not agree with. So I started attending council meetings, and at one meeting I decided I was going to run for politics. I wanted to get involved. I wanted to serve the people and see if I couldn't do better than what some of the people sitting in that chair were doing. So had no idea what I was doing, ran for office and won, and ended up being elected to Seymour City Council twice. In 2008, I was concerned about the direction of the federal government that they were taking, and I started We the People group in Jackson County. I used money from my own pocket and paid for newspaper advertising, radio, and we ended up with several hundred people, and that group lasted for about a year and a half. Ran for state representative and was elected in 2012. And some of the issues that are important to me are pro-life issues, and I'm very proud to say I was part of the group that after Roe v. Wade was handed down from the Supreme Court, Indiana was the first state in the nation that held a special session, and we passed law that has survived Supreme Court scrutiny that is now one of the best pro-life bills in the nation. Gun rights are a huge issue for me. Second Amendment protects all the other amendments, and I am not only recognized as a state leader but a national leader in that aspect as well. I have a 100% pro-life rating with Indiana Right to Life. I have an A+ recommendation from the NRA, and I'm the winner of the NRA Defender of Freedom Award, which is their highest honor. Other issues important to me are parental choice in their child's education. There are 2 genders. We should not be allowing biological males to compete with females in sports or participate in their locker rooms. And that's an issue that we have to take care of and stand strong on. Immigration is becoming a huge issue, not just at the national level, but at the local level as well. And this is an issue that we have to stop, call timeout on, and just reevaluate things that might have worked 20 years ago, but certainly aren't working now. Obviously, smaller government, being a small business owner, I want to create the atmosphere for job creators. Government doesn't create jobs. Job creators create jobs. Small businesses create almost 75% of new jobs and employ over half the workers in our state and nation. So it's very vital that we maintain the atmosphere that Indiana has developed for job creators.
Thank you, Mr. Lucas. Mr. Sevilla, I'll give you the same opportunity to tell us your name, tell us about your background, what office you're seeking, why you're seeking it, and what you hope to accomplish, what your priorities are.
My name is Brian Sevilla. Thanks for pronouncing that correctly. Does that strangely sounds weird? I am. Wow, does that sound? Let me try this one.
I think maybe if you just hold it a little further from your mouth, it's picking up. Yeah.
I'm getting a little vibrato there.
Yeah.
Okay. I am Brian Sevilla. I am a teacher at Brownstown. I coach football and teach government and U.S. history there. Originally from West Virginia, me and my wife moved here about 3 years ago. She is a doctor at Schneck. We literally searched the entire country and found a place that treated us like family. And I hands down give it to Schneck as far as the recruiting style and everything else, because they did. They made us part of their family, and I'm forever grateful for that. Me personally, I've always kind of been involved in politics. My family was involved in that back in the day, and I got to see a lot of corruption on a city level. And I'm not a big fan of dealing with city or county politics. My specialty is more along the lines of state and federal government, and that's actually what I teach. But I was teaching government in West Virginia at the time, and I had a couple students that were complaining about how you have to have a bunch of money and name recognition and so corrupt, no one will ever get in there. And I was like, well, I'll do it. They were like, no, that's impossible, you can't do it. So I ended up running, spent almost no money, beat several people in the primary and another one in the general, and ended up winning. And when I got in there, I did everything you weren't supposed to do. And I voted against every budget, every tax increase, everything that was coming and going, because my specialty with government is looking through every bill, finding out where we're spending the money, where the little hidden agendas are at, where the pet projects are at, and doing everything I can to call them out publicly. And I'm just one voice and one vote inside the House of Representatives, but I firmly believe that if we have our voice and we can use it and we can draw attention to things, then we can kill bills and we can kill bad agendas. And I was very successful with that. Even in West Virginia, it was Democrat. I'm obviously a Republican. And I was able to successfully kill several bills doing that. I want to do the same thing in Indiana. I am already making little crossroads with what I did refer to as the establishment the other day. I was not referring to people in Washington County. I was referring to people in Indianapolis, as far as the people that were sending money down to our race to help one particular side win when they shouldn't be doing that because this is a primary. So I did call them out for that, and I will continue to call them out for that because I'm not afraid. And I have caught some backlash for that, and I'll continue to do so. So when I do get in there, if there's something in the budget needs called out, I'll say it. I will vote no when I need to, and that is not something common that's done up there. There's a lot of go along to get along, and that's not my policy. So if you're looking for somebody to go up to Indy and represent you and vote no when it's necessary, speak up when necessary, and not be afraid to lose their seat, and not being a career politician, then I'm your guy.
Mr. Lucas, I'm going to come back to you for just a moment. As the incumbent, obviously you talked a little bit about some of the things that you've worked on already in your position as state representative. What in your tenure, what are 2 or 3 of the things that you're most proud of accomplishing? And then what do you hope to accomplish in the future? What are 2 or 3 things that you hope to achieve?
One of my proudest accomplishments has been the passage of legislation that I authored that has set the bar for self-defense across the nation. This was based on a single mother that was involved in a justified shooting of a man that was trying to kill a police officer, and yet she had her life torn apart, her and her daughters, by a law firm from out of state that just tried to milk her for money. So I created legislation that is known as Kirsty's Law, and the NRA is using that as model legislation across the rest of the nation. If you defend yourself, loved ones, or anybody, and it's a justifiable use of force, you no longer have to face being bankrupted or publicly shamed because of some attorney that has other means in mind. A constitutional right is no longer required to have a license to exercise. I've worked hard on parental choice in school education. Indiana is one of the leading states in the nation for parental choice when it comes to school choice, and our public school system actually is the largest school choice project that we have in Indiana with open enrollment. So we're seeing competition pan out in education, and that's a great thing. We need to keep moving in that direction. I've also worked in pro-life measures, In Indiana, after the legislation we passed, we eliminated 98% of the abortion clinics in Indiana. As a small business owner and a veteran, I like moving those issues forward. And Mr. Sevilla, I'm one of those, I like to work with people. You can't go up there and just go scorched earth and say no to everything. This is something we have to work with people. We have to get good legislation passed to help not just our district and our state, but the communities back home that depend upon government to provide the social services that we've all come to depend on.
And obviously, the working with the folks in government to get good legislation and moving forward with more pro-life legislation, do you have any other specific legislative priorities that you'd like to focus on if you're reelected?
Immigration is going to be a big thing. I know immigration is affecting not just our city and Seymour, but this is something that is spreading out in, across Jackson County and the 69, District 69 through here. So we have to get a handle on that. We have no idea how many people that are living here illegally. And I think that is a starting point. We have to look at legislation for that, not just identifying who's living here, but how many people are here, who is working here, who is getting government benefits. Those are cuts to government that should be easy. But again, we have to look at that legislatively and work with other people and from across, not just Indiana, but across the state. We look at best practices from other states too on issues. We don't always have to necessarily reinvent the wheel. Sometimes I like taking the easy way out. If somebody else has already done it, why not just take whatever they've done, put Indiana in place of whatever their state is, and make that work for us.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Lucas. Mr. Sevilla, I'd like to give you the same opportunity. With your experience in government, what are some accomplishments that you're proud of, and what specific legislative priorities would you put forth if you're elected?
Well, the proudest moment I had was actually the reason I'm up here. I wrote a bill in West Virginia called Andrea's Law. I had a student that actually I had a student whose little sister got killed by a drunk driver. And I named the bill in her honor. It later became Andrea and Willie's Law to get more people on board. And we increased the penalties for DUIs in West Virginia. And I did that as a minority person. So West Virginia was solidly Democrat till 2016. Thank you, Trump, for turning it red. But I worked very hard and got a lot of progress with that. I am not a scorched earth person. It's kind of funny he says that, because the thing about teaching, the thing about politics is if you speak honestly and directly with people, then you do gain respect with them. I do that with my students. I do it with everybody I'm around. If you're telling the truth with somebody, they're going to respect you. And I treat everybody with love. And that's my classroom. And I welcome anybody to come up there. My classroom is full of nothing but love, respect. We talk about every issue you could think about in that room. And that's something I want to do in the House. So yes, we are a pro-life state, but we could go farther. So I'm a believer that life begins at conception. People always say that there's medical necessities to warrant having an abortion. And if there is, instead of giving a very vague term for that, we have medical professionals that can specifically list what medical exemptions we should put in there, instead of giving a leeway as far as making a broader term for giving excuses to have unnecessary abortions. Big fan of Eric Doden as far as his policy when taking on foster parents and adoption, making no-cost adoptions. Now, granted, we all know things cost a lot in government, but I do like that he is taking on that policy, and I would love to work with him on that if he does happen to get elected. No endorsement, but I just really appreciate him saying that. But as far as like that, I didn't get a whole lot past West Virginia. Really, it was just Andrea's Law. But here, I do want to work with people, but I'm not going to sit back. And one of the biggest reasons why I do want to run is because I do feel like there's not enough people that are saying no to things. And we all have put gas in our cars recently, and we've had several gas increases over the past several years. We're one of the highest taxed states in the nation with that. Everybody that I've been talking to recently has been complaining about property taxes. And it feels like at a certain point that we're being nickeled and dimed to death on taxes. And it's not exactly a very transparent policy. And it'd be very nice if we as legislators could work together to try to develop a better plan instead of having all these hidden fees and hidden taxes and nickel and diming all the taxpayers to death so we can pay for people to not do anything. That would be beneficial. And even when speaking about that, I'm not afraid to take on the welfare state. And I do believe that we should have limitations to it as far as the amount of time that you can draw benefits. So if you are a healthy, able-bodied, able-minded person, there's no reason on God's green earth that you should be drawing benefits for more than 2 years. So I firmly believe everybody needs to have some skin in the game, and that's going to help us as taxpayers. It's going to help everybody be involved. More people are going to be paying attention to what we're doing if everything's out in the limelight. If we're not working so hard as individuals trying to scrape together enough money to pay our taxes, then we can pay attention to what me and him are doing and everybody else in the room. I do feel bad when I run into people and say that honestly, they tell me, like, I've honestly not been paying a whole lot of attention to what goes on because I'm so worried about surviving out here. And a lot of that has to do with the federal level. Biden's completely messed up. I'm trying to think of a nice way to say it. Messed up the inflation rates in our country and everything else. And I'm very happy that here in Indiana we've not felt the brunt as far as on a grand scale like other places have. But just because we're good doesn't mean we're great. And we need to do a lot more to make sure that we can keep this state as amazing as it already is.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sevilla. Last thing before we close up here, Mr. Lucas, I'd like to ask each of you actually a separate sort of specific question, and then ask you to just make a pitch to the voters. Why should they vote for you come May 7th? Okay, so for Mr. Lucas, you mentioned the civil immunity statute that you helped spearhead and get passed through the legislature. You were also, from my recollection, instrumental in passing a teacher training bill. And that's been in the news recently, especially with out of Tennessee, about arming school teachers as a way to help protect children in the schools. Could you tell us a little bit about that legislation, and then finally make your pitch to the voters? Why should they vote for you on May 7th?
Yes, that was an excellent piece of legislation. I've been working on that a couple years. What it does, after we saw that Parkland High School in Florida, where the school resource officer waited outside while students and teachers were being murdered inside, and then Uvalde, Texas, the elementary school where 377 city, county, state, and federal agents waited outside for almost an hour and a half while elementary students were dialing 911 inside begging for help. I approached our former state police superintendent and I asked him if he could design a 40-hour training course using existing certified training classes. Then I didn't want the teachers or staff to be a SWAT team. I just wanted to give them a chance to be able to defend themselves, as we've seen have happened in past school shootings. Shooters inside with no resistance, the teachers and staff would have a chance to at least defend themselves. And it is an option. Schools across Indiana right now, they have the option to determine their own carry policy. The school corporation can say, hey, we recognize people's constitutional rights. Anybody that's not prohibited can carry on school grounds, or they can completely prohibit it. But what this does, this provides an option for them, strictly voluntary. The school corporation has to buy into it. They have to want to do it. Teachers and staff have to volunteer. And once they complete this training program, then the state will pay for that program. But what it also does, it provides schools with a financial incentive, because for the cost of one school resource officer, right now with salary, benefits, and packages, it's about $90,000 for one SRO. Now, if you were to put one SRO in every school, you're going to rack up a pretty big chunk of change in no time. Or you can take that $90,000 and train about 60 staff members. So you've increased your deterrent effect from 1 to 60. And the nice thing is you don't have to tell people, who is where. And that alone right there is not only a deterrent effect, but it provides teachers and staff like Mr. Sevilla here the opportunity, if heaven forbid anything like that were to happen, that they would at least have a chance to defend themselves.
Thank you, Mr. Lucas. And then finally, if you would I'll give you 2 minutes, just make your pitch to the voters. Why should people vote for you come May 7th?
I want to continue to serve. I love serving. I want to continue to serve. I have a good track record of standing up for what I believe in. I've been called a yes candidate. Anybody that knows me knows there couldn't be anything further from the truth. I've been accused of being part of the establishment. Again, in 2020, I was the only Republican in the state of Indiana that supported Donald Rainwater for governor because of what then Governor Eric Holcomb was doing with the COVID proclamations, telling people they couldn't go to church, mask mandates and such as that. So I have proven that I've got the courage to stand up. But I've also proven that I have the ability to work together with other people on tough issues. And having that record of public service and openness and small business ownership, proving for 25 years that I know how to get things done. If the front door is not going to open, you have to go around the side door. or the basement window. I will find a way in. I make myself available. My cell phone number is on all my business cards, and I'm 24/7, and I ask for your vote.
Thank you, Mr. Lucas. Mr. Sevilla, for you, if you're welcome to comment on the teacher training bill that Mr. Lucas commented on, but I'd also like you to talk about school choice. That's sort of a Republican litmus test to some degree, and Mr. Lucas has commented on it. So if you would, at least comment on that, and if you'd like to comment on the teacher training bill as well, that's fine.
They go together. So, and I do want to thank him for pushing that, most of it, as far as that, because as a teacher, I do believe that we should have the right to defend ourselves. It is a soft target. I think that gun-free zones are an oxymoron because you're just welcoming in people that are basically walking to a crowd of people that are defenseless. But I do believe in school choice. As a public school teacher, I do not believe we should have a monopoly on the school system. Homeschooling, private schooling, charter schooling, whatever it takes, just like with the economy, we need to have a diverse market to where we can find out what works best, learn from each other. If something's failing, let it fail, instead of just propping things up and keeping them going forever. There's schools around the country, specifically in inner cities, that struggle mightily, and we just keep pumping funds into them, and there's kids coming out of there that aren't even remotely close to the same achievement level as the ones in rural areas, and which is kind of ironic considering most people assume that people in rural areas aren't very intelligent. As we can tell in this room, we are. I come from a rural area, and I love being from the country, but we should never be faceted into one thing. And I know that as a public school teacher, I probably will get a little grief about that, but again, it's the truth. We need to have a free market. And with the gun situation, the biggest difference me and him have with that when it comes to school resource officers is that you can train us all day and night, but at the same time, we're just teachers. And we do not have time to monitor the hallways. We do not have time to go check every kid for drugs. We're not trained for that. Even if you do train us, we're not police officers. There's not many men in there that are capable of doing a lot of the things that our police officer does in our school. Our Officer Terry at Brownstown High School is an amazing officer, and he does so much good for us. We have a drug dog in there. And yes, it is expensive, but as a government, there's things that we do need to spend money on and things we don't. And we can find a lot of the fat in the budget, and we can try to trim that, and we don't have to get rid of something good because we pay for a lot of bad. And again, that ties back to the ability to say no to certain spending things, which I will do. And just because you say no to something doesn't mean that you're not willing to work with people or that you're aggressive or you're going to shut everything down. It just means that you have your own independent voice, and it does tie back to the establishment side of things. Because when the Speaker Houston tells people particularly what bills are going to come along, there's not that many no votes. And I'm other than the other side. You can laugh. So it is something I'm willing to do, and I'll gladly do it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sevilla.
I'd like to correct that false accusation that the Speaker's never told anybody how to vote.
I never said he told you how to vote.
You said when Speaker Houston tells people.
No.
Speaker Houston's never told anybody how to vote. We are our own minds up there.
Mr. Sevilla,
Yes, sir.
if you would just take a minute or two and make your pitch, why should the voters vote for you May 7th?
The best reason is accountability. I am very honest. I have a lot of integrity. You can talk to anybody in Brownstown as far as my students, my parents, the staff, administration, anything that gets close to me work-wise, they will tell you the love and respect and integrity that we have in my classroom and everywhere else. I did the same thing in politics in West Virginia. Did the same thing in West Virginia. Even though I was in the minority, the Speaker of the House was very respectful to me. He gave me a lot of leeway with a lot of things as far as what I was saying and what I was doing, because he did appreciate the fact that it did come from my heart and from my mind, my knowledge, my experience, and I was able to do a lot of good for the people of West Virginia doing that. I do have the knowledge, I do have the experience, and I do believe that we as public servants should realize that it's not our responsibility to stay in office forever, and that I'm a George Washington fan. He served 8 years and he got out. And if we do not have set in stone term limits, which I firmly believe we should, it's our job as politicians to step back and let the next generation come in. Most people don't know what the last word of the preamble of the Constitution is, and it's posterity. So we are looking to secure the blessings of liberty for ourselves and our posterity. And if we're the ones wanting to stay in office forever, to maintain a seat, maintain power, maintain money, that's not helping our posterity, that's helping ourselves. So my job is to try to motivate my students to take my spot, and I can either move up or move out. And I have my limited amount of knowledge and information. I want to put it in there for 6 to 8 years, move on, and hopefully one of my students or one of your students, somebody in this area, can step up and take my spot.
Thank you, Mr. Sevilla.
Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Lucas. Thank you both for being here this evening to give the voters a better idea about who you are and what your priorities are. So thanks a bunch.
Thank you.
All right, next, Washington County Clerk Stephanie Rocky. This is a no contest, so we'll just give Ms. Rocky. Well, we'll give you a few minutes to say what you like. So, Ms. Rocky, you would just tell us your name, the position you currently have and are seeking, and what your priorities are for the clerk's office.
I'm Stephanie Rocky. I'm the current county clerk, which also entails election administrator for the county. So I'm seeking re-election. I am unopposed in the primary, and this will be my last term. I've done 5 years coming up because I was caucused in 2019. So my priorities are to keep the clerk's office at the highest level of integrity and to work as efficient as possible and keep the well-oiled machine of our our judicial branch of government going. We all work well together. In our Justice Center, we have the sheriff, prosecutor, both judges, and myself. So we just work well together, work efficiently. So I just want to keep that going.
So as an attorney, I see what you do from time to time. I don't know everything that you do, but I think a lot of voters, it's sort of a mystery what the clerk does. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do and
Yes.
some of the challenges you face?
Yes, so as your county clerk, my office is in 2 sections. So I have my election voter services office. So under state statute, I am the election administrator for the county. But also under that clerk hat, I'm the records keeper of the court. I call it the glorified secretary as well as the court, because all cases that come through, no matter what type of case, we are the front, middle, and the end. So we also chief financial officer of the court system. So we collect all fines, fees, restitution, and child support. But also, it's been coming up on a year, we've taken over the bond process from the sheriff's department. So my office handles all the financial part of the bonds. So we collect all the money from that and process it. And that's how we've made our judicial branch of government work more smoothly and efficiently once we had a change in the guards with judges and seeing that the process was slow when it comes to the bonds. We did it all electronic. And then another thing I'm proud of that we're coming in the tail end of is on our records, we have we're in the 4th section of that, digitizing all the records from the beginning of time here in Washington County, and to make us run more efficient. When I took office, I realized that if a prosecutor was trying to get habitual offender charges on a case, at one point it took 3 deputies, 25 books, and 3.5 hours to get every piece of documentation from that person's cases. So that was not efficient. Also, during the pandemic, of course, we had a lot of records requests. And so, you know, we get $1 per page. We're allowed under state statute to charge an individual and that $3 certification. And we were actually paying those who come in our office wanted any kind of documents. We were paying them for that request, basically. So that's why when I go out of office, I want to have everything digitized and keep running more efficient.
So obviously you're not being challenged in the primary, but tell voters why should they come out and show you their support anyway? Well, tell us, you know, what should motivate them to get out and vote for you?
To keep, because I mean, the way the elections run, I can be opposed in the general. You know, all the candidates that are out there, you know, it's the longest job interview you're ever going to go on. You never know how it's going to end till those election results come in. So you never know what can happen. I was never a politician by trade. I went in there, took the bulls by the horn, you know, took over an office, repaired our relationship with all the state agencies. And so I just want to, you know, if you have not seen me work, I don't mean to toot my own horn, but, you know, I want to work as efficiently and hard as possible. And so I want to keep that going.
Thank you, Stephanie Rocky.
Thank you.
All right, now we'll move on to Washington County Treasurer Nancy Coates. Oh, sorry. I'm getting a finger pointed at me here.
House District 70.
House District 70. Okay, I don't think I have. Please come on forward. Sorry, we'll get to the treasurer next. False alarm. Oh, I didn't have them on my. It's okay. And I apologize. I didn't have you on my list, and if you're not on my list, then you don't exist, right? So, but obviously you do. So
Apology accepted.
So please tell us who you are, what position you're seeking, what your priorities are, and why the people should vote for you come May 7th.
Well, my name is John Colburn. Thank you for having me. This way. Microphone. There we go. John Colburn. I'm a candidate for the Indiana State House for District 70. Just to manage expectations, I'm an accountant who has an engineering degree, so by definition I have no personality, so be patient. But seriously, I am a constitutional conservative and a free market capitalist, and I want to go to Indianapolis to work with other constitutional conservatives to reduce the size, the scope, and the power of the Indiana state government, and to vote for our rights and our liberties in the Constitution more than 1/3 of the time. I want to roll back the red flag laws that were expanded in 2019, and I want to be accessible to the constituents. Accessible through telephone, text, email, Facebook message. Accessibility, I think, is key. It's really the cornerstone of a representative republic.
So I mentioned at the outset I'm an attorney, but I'm also a firearms instructor. So, and this is not about me, but it's of interest to me, firearms. And I don't want to make this just about firearms, but I think people, I think people in our area care about them as well, or at least I like to think that they do. So, tell us a little bit what are red flag laws, and why do you care so much about rolling some of those expansions of the red flag laws back?
Red flag laws, I believe, to be un-American and unpatriotic. The Second Amendment was not established for hunters. It wasn't established as a backdoor to outdoorsmen. It was established for two reasons. It was established to be the ultimate backstop to despotic government and to allow individuals to protect themselves, their family, and their property. And a red flag law circumvents the due process of an accused having to face his accuser, and the accuser having to prove that there is a reason that you shouldn't have a firearm. And it kind of goes against our entire constitutional system, where innocent until proven guilty. Red flag law, you're guilty until you prove yourself innocent, and completely the antithesis of what our Constitution was intended.
What are some other priorities that you would pursue if you're elected for House District 70?
Well, again, I think establishing the free market. The Indiana Economic Development Corporation is an unelected, bureaucratic slush fund where the government will take our tax dollars, give it to the unelected IEDC, and they do with it as they wish. We, the voters, have no voting way to voice our opinion to them. Again, I think it's the antithesis of a representative republic. And I think dramatically rolling back the power of the Indiana Economic Development Corporation is a huge priority. Another priority would be reducing the size, if not completely eliminating, the Indiana Department of Education. Education should be returned to where it is best suited, which is the parents and the teachers. The parents are best suited to understand how their children need to be taught and what they need to be taught, not administrators, and certainly not unelected bureaucrats in Indianapolis.
Lastly, if you would, just give a pitch, 1 minute or 2 minutes. Why should the voters come out and vote for you on May 7th?
Well, again, quite frankly, I believe that I am the best candidate to represent the hopes and the dreams and the aspirations that you have for yourself and your posterity. And by rolling back the size of government, reducing the tax burden on Hoosiers, and ultimately eliminating all property taxes on people who are 65 years and older. They've done their bit for God and country. Why should they have to continue to pay rent to the government?
Thank you, Mr. Colburn.
Thank you.
All right, now we'll move on to Washington County Treasurer Nancy Coates and Mary Durbin. Good evening, Ms. Coates and Ms. Durbin.
Good evening.
Just like I've done with the other candidates so far, I want to give you just a few minutes here at the outset. Tell us your name, the position you're seeking, what experience you have that's relevant to the position you're seeking, and what you hope to accomplish if you're elected. So Ms. Coates, we'll start with you.
Hi, I'm Nancy Coates. I'm running for re-election for Washington County Treasurer. I've been in this position for 3.5 years. It's really been an honor serving Washington County. A little bit of my background: I was born and raised in Salem here. My parents are Red and Wanda Sullivan. Both have passed away. And was in sales for a number of years. Right out of high school, joined the military. I was a military police in the Army. And had lived in Germany and New Mexico, Alabama. But my heart's always been in Salem. So it's a joy to be back in our later years, and it's a joy to serve Washington County. But we had our own Xerox agency up in Wisconsin. Forgot about Wisconsin. We were up there for about 18 years. So I feel like I've had a lot of experience living other places and getting a lot of things under my belt. Managed the business that we owned, and I worked as an office manager here at a local agency. We came home to be around our parents. I actually came home, and my mother was in the nursing home, and then she lived with us for a year. So we really focused on family. But I was an office manager at Walls Lawn Care here for 6 years because Troy Walls gave me the freedom to be there for my mother during that time too. And that was a good experience for me also. But serving Washington County has been a real joy. I'm sort of like a watchdog. I'm try to be very organized and feel a huge responsibility to oversee the money that comes into Washington County. So I've really enjoyed serving.
So one thing, a lot of folks may not know what the treasurer does exactly, and they might think, well, as long as they're honest and they can count higher than 10, with their fingers. Why should I care who the treasurer is? Can you tell us a little bit about what the treasurer does?
Well, the treasurer has an immense amount of responsibility. Every dollar that goes through Washington County comes through our office. We have to balance to zero. The auditor's office has been wonderful. We balance with them to zero. We have to meet. We have to match. I don't think people realize the amount of state monitoring and different things, and State Board of Accounts that monitor everything we do. So we balance to the penny every single day. And sometimes if you're a little bit off, it's hard to find that penny. But we balance every day to the penny.
Thank you, Ms. Coates. Ms. Durbin, we'll give you the same opportunity. Tell us who you are, the position you're seeking, why you're seeking the position, and what relevant experience you have.
Okay. My name is Mary Durbin, and I've been in Washington County all my life. I have experience as a school treasurer. I have 14 years in that. And I also have 2 years experience in the assessor's office, where I've learned a lot about county government. I feel that I can better serve the county as a treasurer because of my experiences with the State Board of Accounts and going through audits and also through the schools, and also what I've learned as far as assessing properties. I mean, you never quit learning. There's always a lot to learn, and I'm sure Nancy knows more about the Treasury job than I do, obviously, because she's done it, and she's done a great job. I don't think that she hasn't done a good job. I feel like that I could bring some other things to the table that maybe will bridge the community more with government, because I think sometimes the taxpayers feel like we are the bully, per se. And I think that I can communicate well with people and make them feel like we're on an even ground.
Thank you, Ms. Durbin. And finally, I want to give each of you just a minute or two, like I have with the other candidates. Just give the voters your pitch. Why should they vote for you come May 7th?
Well, I've really enjoyed my life of service, whether it's to the military or to Washington County or to my children, my family. I have done a very effective job. We've implemented the, investments and different things to try to make Washington County more money. I do realize that paying property taxes is not everyone's favorite thing to do. A lot of people don't look very happy coming in the office, but we try to make it a joyful experience, without the taxpayer. County, I appreciate everyone paying their taxes because our government, our local government, it's the foundation of it. We need that to run efficiently and effectively for Washington County. I feel like I've done a good job. I've been audited twice with no infractions, 0 at all on both those audits by State Board of Accounts. Detail and different things, and I always know what's up. Like if something's not quite right, I figure out a way around it or to get around it or whatnot. Try to run my office with the highest integrity that was instilled in me from my parents and from the military. So I have really enjoyed, it's been an honor to serve Washington County, and I hope I get the opportunity to again.
Thank you, Ms. Coates. And Ms. Durbin, I'll give you the same opportunity. Tell the voters why should they vote for you come May 7th.
Well, I will do my very best job. I believe that I can do the job. I just think that I can do it. I will do it well. I think that I will work well with others, and I really got nothing else.
All right. Thank you, Nancy Coates and Mary Durbin.
Thank you.
All right. We have an unopposed election with Washington County Coroner Shonda Keltner. Shonda in the room? No. Washington County Surveyor Emily Rodman. Either chair would be fine. Yeah. Just make sure you're kind of close to the microphone.
I talk loud enough.
Yes. All right. Good evening, Ms. Rodman.
Hello. Nice to have you.
If you would just tell the voters who you are, what your experience is, what the position is that you're seeking, and why they should vote for you come May 7th.
My name is Emily Rodman. I'm running for Washington County Surveyor for the second term. I've worked in the Surveyor's office since 2017. I ran for my first term in 2019. The Surveyor's office, I think people call in and they don't really know what we do. The county surveyor does have to be a licensed surveyor. So there's the first point of view. We're more or less the holder of records and a resource to the public. So what we do in our office is we reread the legals on the deeds to be sure that your property is where it says it is, because you can't sell a property that you don't own. We keep record of all the surveys that are in the county, the corner ties that are in the county. So if you call a licensed surveyor to have your property surveyed, our office is one of their points of contact to get all their records straight, so makes their job easier for surveying everyone's properties. We keep track of all the subdivision plats in the county. And we're a stop. Whenever you get your deed recorded, we're stop one. If you guys have ever bought property in Washington County, we're stop one. You got to stop by and hang out in our office for a while we reread your deed. I really enjoy working with Washington County. I love when the public comes in our office. It's always an experience. We treat everyone with respect and try to do the best we can to help everybody with the same amount of respect. So.
All right. Well, I know you're running unopposed, so you don't have an opponent in the primary. Is there anything else you'd like to tell the voters before you step down from the podium this evening?
I would honestly respect your votes. I think that we do our job efficiently in our office. I have a lot of knowledge. I learn more and more every single day in that office. Every day you'll learn something new. And I do my best every single day. I appreciate their votes.
All right. Thank you, Emily Rodman.
Thank you.
All right, now we'll move on to the commissioner races. We have Washington County Commissioner District 1, Phil Marshall and Troy Ozzie Spears Jr. If you would, please come forward. Good evening, Mr. Spears and Mr. Marshall.
Good evening.
Thank you both for being here. Just like I've done, it's pretty routine by now, just like I've done with the other candidates. If you would, just tell us your name, what the position is that you're seeking, what experience you have that's relevant to that position, and what your priorities would be. Mr. Spears, we'll start with you.
My name's Troy Spears Jr. A lot of people know me by Ozzie. I'm running for First District Commissioner. My lifelong resident of Washington County, Indiana. I work for my mom and dad that started for a small trucking business. They started 25 plus years ago. I don't know. What was the question?
What would your priorities be? What would you hope to
priorities,
accomplish? Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot. I mean, I'm running because I'm sick of I'm a taxpayer just like everybody else. I'm running because I'm sick of the backdoor, bullcrap that goes on in this county. So I'm running, and I want to be the voice for the people that ain't got a voice or get shut up or shut down because they don't want to be heard. So I'm running to be the voice for the people.
I know you said you've got quite a few priorities. Are there just one or two that maybe are close to the top of the list that you'd like to mention?
Well, I'd like to see the meetings change, the times. I mean, a lot of people complain about that because they can never make it to the meetings. I mean, a lot of people want to be heard. I mean, they really do. So that's something that needs to be changed.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Spears. Mr. Marshall, tell us who you are, what the position is that you're seeking, what your experience is, and what your priorities would be if you're reelected.
I'm Philip Marshall. I'm a lifelong resident of Washington County. I was raised in Martinsburg, went to Martinsburg grade school, went to Beacon High School, married my wife 55 years ago. I got in trouble the other night for not saying that. But I started my own business. My father started my own, he started a business first in '49. Then he got cancer and I come back to help him. And then I started working as Marshall Electric. We changed it to Marshall Sales when I took over. I started another business along with that, Marshall's Fireplace Shop. I had two sons. Today Seth pretty well runs my business. They asked me to run for commissioner. Didn't have no idea what politics was, if that's what you want to call it. It's a job. We got a county that's had problems, does have problems. It's an everyday job. And you better have a good business to run as a commissioner if you're going to do it right. I work with you as a public defender and that, along with quite a few other departments we have to run. I was on the phone today with Kyra. to about 3 o'clock, 3:30 with problems. And if you're going to do this right, I've probably done more reading out of school than what I've ever done in school. And to learn the format that you have to work with. We have a lot of ideas that we're going to change this, we're going to change that. And we find out the state don't play that way. We have to go by the rules. Some of the things that we want to do, we can't do. I don't think the commissioners have ever really set a time frame on meetings. They did at one time, have night meetings, nobody showed up. A lot of the businesses that we deal with have an 8 to 5 job, and they don't come to meetings either. So we miss out on some of the opportunities that the county does get given to them. We work with, and we have worked with probably other departments in the county, and it's an important job. And the personnel that we have working with us is some of the best that I know. We started back 10 years ago setting up with commissioners in 5 other counties: Crawford County, Clark County, Scott County, Floyd County, Harrison, to get ideas of what they do and what they've got. They have some of the same problems we got. Our disadvantage is we don't have the money they've got. So we have to pull other areas. We've increased over the past 12 years that I know of, because I've been on top of them: the jail, the Justice Center, the ambulance building, the highway department. We've got, like I said, the same problems they've got. They just get more luxury, but they do have more people. We're at 28,000. Most of those are 49 and 50,000. I don't know how much more you want me to share.
Well, I think one thing I'd like to hear from both of you, Mr. Marshall, do you have any priorities that you'd like to focus on if you're elected to the position of commissioner?
We have. I mean, I've heard a lot of criticism. I heard it before. We started out, our jail didn't have air conditioning in it. We didn't have computers for the office or for the council and commissioners. They didn't have no idea of some of the problems. We've got problems in the mechanical end of it that'll constantly be a bearing against this county. And they're going to have to face this down the road. And it's going to be an ever-going. It's just like our house. If we don't take care of it, it's going to build to us. What we've done over the past 12 years without raising taxes, yes, my wife got a mail today and our taxes went up too. But at the same time, if you don't stay on top of it, this thing's going to get ahead of us. And we have to stay on top of it. And that's one of the main things right now. We haven't raised taxes. We haven't been in favor of raising taxes. We've done everything we could to keep it. But we've done what we've done over the past 12 years, a little bit at a time, so that we have went farther. And to do this, I'm proud of that notion. We've got some more projects that have to be done, but we're not raising taxes to do it. Now, that's kind of what I got to say.
Thank you, Mr. Marshall. One thing I think it sounds like both of you would agree with is that you would like to see more citizen engagement. Mr. Marshall, I'll start with you on this one. Do you have any ideas for increasing engagement at the meetings?
I don't know that you can do that. I didn't mean to. I step on you.
No, I asked you to
Okay.
answer. Yeah, you're good.
I don't know that you can. The world today is different than what it was when I grew up. People today, we've all got too much other going on. We complain about what's being done, but as far as seeing it, unless there's some event, we don't see a majority want to come to it. Anybody's welcome to come to a commissioner meeting. All you got to do is call the auditor's office, call the commissioner, tell them you want to be put on the agenda. You can come in and voice your opinion. I don't know if we've ever refused anybody to talk. I can't say I've ever seen that. I know a lot of things are said out of misinformation, But at the same time, we have listened. I got a call Sunday afternoon about the road being blacktop, and Jason Codfelter contacted them. It's on schedule to be done next year. Sewers are being put in. Hardensburg's been an issue. We got problems throughout the county, just like every other county. And what we try to do is the best we can. And you have to do the research. Just because you tell me a problem, don't mean there's not two sides to that story. And I've got to find both sides of it before we can make an opinion. And then judge what we can afford. And that's why we relate to the auditor's office, how much money do we have? And they get tired of here and they come in there.
Thank you, Mr. Marshall. Mr. Spears, same question to you. Do you have any ideas about how to increase citizen engagement? Do you think there's any headway to make there?
You can put it out there. You can tell people when the times are. I mean, change them. See if more people come. If that don't work, I mean, I guess if you wanted to go back to your original time early in the morning through the week, I guess you could. But I mean, the biggest thing is going to be change it and see if people show up. I mean,
Trial and error.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say.
All right. Well, I want to give each of you just an opportunity in closing here, give you a couple of minutes. Tell the voters why they should come out and vote for you on May 7th. Mr. Spears, I'll start with you.
I'm pretty opinionated. I speak my mind. I think people like that. I think they get along with that a little bit better than beating around the bush. And I don't know. I've never been one of them people that voted straight ticket. I've never voted straight ticket. I've always voted for the right person for the right job. You know, whoever's the best person for that job is who I voted for. So that's how I've always been. And, you know, I stand with Mr. Sevilla with term limits. I think term limits should be incorporated in everything, government-wise. And, I mean, they're long past due on their limits, I think. So, I mean, step aside, let some people come in and let them see if they can do any better or not. And you always vote for change. You don't vote for the same.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Spears. Mr. Marshall, just in closing, give you a minute or two. Tell voters why should they come out and vote for you on May the 7th.
I want to thank Mr. Spears for running. At his age, he can go a lot farther than I could go. I've heard statements made about the old men in office now, and we are the old men in office. And that's why we do need young ones coming up. But at the same time, right now, I'm still facing problems within the county. I am asking for the support and the vote. I would like to go 4 more years, but the problems won't be solved in 4 more years. There's always going to be more problems. And the community needs to step up and find good people to run open-minded for that job and be willing to spend more time than you can imagine into it. Thank you.
Thank you, Troy Spears Jr., and thank you, Phil Marshall.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next we have Washington County Commissioner District 3, Tony Cardwell Jr. and Rick Roberts. All right, good evening, Mr. Cardwell and Mr. Roberts. Thank you for being here this evening.
Good evening.
Thank you.
So just like I have with the other candidates, Mr. Cardwell, I'll start with you. If you would just tell us who you are, what experience you have, what position you're seeking, and why the voters should come out and vote for you on May the 7th.
Okay, first of all, I'm not a politician or a public speaker. When I first started, my name is Tony Cardwell Jr. I'm from Washington County here, born and raised. Lived here pretty much all my life and hard worker. I'm 53 years old and was born and raised here. A little bit about myself. Fresh out of high school, I started working construction. By the age of 22, I became a supervisor where I oversaw multiple jobs simultaneously with a crew of up to 20 people. At the age of 30, I then started my own concrete cutting business. Within 3 years, I built a business up to have 30 employees and over 20 trucks at any given time. Job sizes range for a minimum price job to over $1 million projects. During this time, I was pre-qualified to work and perform work within the states of Indiana and Kentucky, performing work with the state highway departments, numerous airports, and municipalities, as both a sub and prime contractor. This experience has taught me not only the way jobs should be performed, but also the proper procedures for awarding and letting projects. My 30-year career in the construction business has given me the knowledge, experience, and understanding in highway and commercial building construction, which falls hand in hand with some of the duties of being a commissioner. As I understand the importance of keeping up with the infrastructure of this great county, currently I own and operate several businesses within Washington County. If I got the privilege of serving you as commissioner of this great county, some of my visions are as follows: to work hand in hand with other departments and branches of government such as council, clerks, sheriff's department, etc., not only for the betterment of our county, but for its safety. To give the citizens of Washington County more opportunity for their voices to be heard. One example of this would be to have the meetings at a time that allowed the working people a chance to attend and participate. To improve on the bidding and letting processes by informing, inviting, and allowing more vendors the opportunity to participate. To work with and here's one of my big pet peeves. To work with, educate, and assist all the small towns across Washington County to get them to and stay in compliance and remain in good standing so they can prosper. After all, small towns are the backbones of America. This is just a small insight of my thoughts and plans for Washington County. By being goal-orientated and having new perspectives on old problems, I will work hard and do my due diligence to move Washington County straight up and straight forward.
Thank you, Mr. Cardwell. Mr. Roberts, I want to give you the same opportunity. Tell us who you are, what experience you have that's relevant to the position that you're seeking, and why the voters should come out and vote for you on May the 7th.
Okay, thank you. My name is Rick Roberts. I'm seeking the office of Commissioner, District 3, which I currently serve, and this is my second term, looking to be elected for a third one. I feel like, you know, we've done a lot of things, and I came into this, I am 65 years old, live on a farm with my brother. I'm married to my wife Tammy. We have 3 children, 9 grandchildren. My brother and I also, Randy, are partners in a farming operation along with his son and an employee, Jeremy Lee. Running the county is like a whole lot like running a farm. You know, you've got budgets. There's good years, there's bad years, but you make do with what you got. And I look forward to and appreciate and would appreciate the voters putting me back in on May 7th.
Mr. Roberts, Mr. Cardwell talked about a few of his priorities, some of his vision for the county. Do you have any specific priorities that you would like to make a mission or a goal if you're elected?
I don't know that, sure we all have priorities, and it's like Mr. Marshall said, we're a smaller county population-wise. We make do with what we got. Sure, we'd like to have things that other counties have, but we've stuck to the fact that we're not going to raise taxes unless we absolutely have to. And we feel like we're not to that point. We don't want to do it. We pay taxes also. And we work with a lot of good people. It's not just the commissioners. I mean, we lean on the auditor's office, clerk's office, sheriff's department, surveyor's office. I mean, everybody has to work together. There's no one office that is above any of the others. And, you know, you get a lot more things done that way trying to work together than fighting about things.
So it sounds like not raising taxes would be one of the main objectives. Is that fair to say?
That's real fair to say.
Okay. And Mr. Cardwell, would you agree with that as well?
Of course.
Okay. just in closing, if you would, each of you just take a minute or two, make your pitch. Why should the voters come out and vote for you on Tuesday, May 7th? Mr. Cardwell.
All right. I'm hardworking, very goal-orientated, and look towards the future. I think that this county needs a fresh perspective on some of the old problems we got laying around and everything, and I'm willing to work hard. I've proven myself through this campaign. Got less than a week left to go, and started about 3 weeks ago beating on doors. I've been to over 1,200 doors in our county. Probably several of you sitting in here either talked to me or received a little bag hanging on their door, but I'm willing to do the work, do the footwork, get with people one-on-one and see what the problem is. I met the two fellers yesterday. There's two older gentlemen, very comical, had an idea on the vision of all the roads in the county having lines down them. I thought to myself that's a little bit unrealistic, but I did feel the pain and see their problem. There's always the flip side to that coin, But I will work hard and do the best I can, and if I don't know something, I'm not afraid to ask somebody that's how to do this or do that. So there's always somebody out there willing to lend a hand, and I'm not afraid to ask. So I appreciate your vote May 7th.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Cardwell. Mr. Roberts, I'll give you the last word. Washington voters come out on Tuesday, May 7th to vote for you.
First of all, I'd like to thank Becky and Greg for hosting this, and you, of course, for being the moderator. Again, I have 8 years experience, and there are things coming down the line for all counties, not just Washington County, where you need someone with experience. Like Mr. Cardwell said, he would like to take these small towns and inform them on how to do their job. Well, I don't agree with that. That's why you have town boards. That's not our duty to tell people how to run their towns. And I would like to keep things going in a positive direction, which I think we have done in the past few years. And there are a lot of bright spots in Washington County. People don't always look at that. They want to look at the negatives and start their own negative talk about things without really knowing what is going on. So, again, my name is Rick Roberts. I am running for Commissioner, District 3, and I would truly appreciate your vote on May 7th.
Thank you, Mr. Cardwell, and thank you, Mr. Roberts.
Thank you.
All right, the last race we have is Washington County Council at large. Any candidates for that position, please come forward. Good evening, Mr. Gilbert.
Good evening.
Your solo show up here.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm not running unopposed, but I kind of feel like it right now with being the only one.
You're the closing act.
Closing act, okay, good.
Exactly. All right, Mr. Gilbert, if you would just tell the voters who you are, what experience you have that's relevant to the position that you're seeking, and what some of your priorities would be if you're elected.
All right, thank you. First of all, I do want to thank Becky and Greg and Wslm for offering this forum for candidates to get our names and faces out there, and Alex for you being the moderator. So it's greatly appreciated. My name is Brad Gilbert. It'll be Bradley on the ballot, so there's no confusion on that. I'm a business guy. I'm an HR guy. My official title, I work for a small company you guys may have heard. It's just right down the road. It's called Walmart. And so I am a people leader for Walmart US. I'm the HR guy. One thing that I think would make me a good councilman is that I have a lot of experience with budgets. Every week, I write a budget every week, and I think my experience with that, I get the opportunity to be at a $95 million supercenter, and when it comes to writing schedules and budgets, every week I'm dealing with $170,000 worth of payroll and benefits and everything that I've got to allocate. And it's not a cookie cutter process. That changes every week. So I think getting that experience with almost 18 years with Walmart and almost 29 years in business leadership, that's a strength that I could bring to the table, and being willing to take a different perspective and give a fresh look there. My priorities, one thing that comes in mind, the first thing is, of course, we need to make sure that our police, fire, and EMS are supported, and they have everything, not just pay, but it's about tools and support and technology that they can protect all of us. I did have the opportunity today to speak to an officer, and something that was interesting that I hadn't really thought about that. We've heard about all of this, we need a raise, we need this, we can only do this, and outsider looking in, it's like, well, it's just dollars and cents, but this officer kind of put it in perspective for me. We need to think about things and be open-minded to say, we need to be paid and given the resources for what we may have to do in the future to take care of the residents of Washington County. And they use like a school shooting, and that's not happened here, and we don't want that to happen, but you know, we're in a day and age that it can happen in Washington County. So I thought that was a good perspective for me. So that's a priority. Another priority, and it's just kind of a broader priority, is I want to use my business experience, my experience with budgets, and bring that, make it a priority that we're really being open-minded. We're making sure that we're using common sense and finding common ground solutions, bringing everybody to the table.
One thing we heard from a few candidates earlier was about citizen engagement. When you talk about being a people person and managing all the folks at Walmart, which is a huge undertaking, do you have any ideas about how to get more citizen engagement in the county?
Well, you got to start the process. The first part of engagement is not waiting for someone to be engaged in what you're doing. It's going out and asking them to be engaged and listening and starting those conversations. The other part of that engagement is truly listening. Listen to understand, not listen to give your perspective, and also understand that their perspective may be different than yours, but it's just as important. And so to get someone engaged and then keep them engaged, you've got to start just asking for their participation, and then you don't make it combative. That is, and people respond to that, and you just got to be open-minded. You've got to find common ground, and those things will get people to feel like you're approachable. You've got to be approachable.
And the flip side of that is, obviously, lots of people can't make it to the council meetings, to the commissioner meetings, etc. Do you have ideas for how to get a feel for the people that you're representing without them actually being present at the meetings?
Again, if you engage, you give them the opportunity to engage with you, and maybe come up with different forums that you have. During this campaign, for me, one thing that I haven't been able to knock on as many doors, but I have gotten out there. But one thing that I've done is I've reached out to people and said, hey, come talk to me. Let's meet somewhere. And I've met one-on-one, and I've also met in smaller groups. But, you know, you've got to sometimes meet them where they are and be willing to, if this isn't working, then try something else. But it's also, don't give up if they're not responding this way. And it's pretty simple and it's kind of common sense, but let's say that you can't make it. Hey, Tammy, how can you make it? Why can't you make it? What's going on? How can we get you to be involved and have the information? And that's important.
All right, just in closing, Mr. Gilbert, just make a pitch, a minute or two, tell the voters why should they come out and vote for you on May 7th.
I'm a common sense guy. I have a lot of business experience that I think will be an asset to the county council. I like to find ways that we can do things better. I think it's important to hear all of the perspectives from our voters. Whether you agree with me or I agree with you or not, I think you need to have those conversations, and I need to have the faith that people will start having those conversations. I would appreciate your vote. I will be listening to you. I would appreciate all that, and I think my business experience would make me a valuable candidate for county council.
Thank you, Bradley Gilbert.
Thank you.
All right, is there anybody else here this evening that I didn't call that wanted to get up and tell the voters about who you are? Calling everybody? All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in on Facebook, on YouTube, by radio, and for those of you who are here in person, thanks again to WSLM, Becky White, Greg White. I think, like I said at the beginning, it's really important for people to be engaged in local politics. So many people get angry and frustrated at their TV in the evening when they're watching people who are running for national office. But the fact is, you have very little control over that national election. But you do have some influence and some control over what happens here in your community. So make sure you talk to the candidates, make sure you get to know them, make sure you know who you're voting for. There's a history professor from Alabama that I like to listen to. He has a podcast, and he has this principle that he follows. He just says, think locally, act locally. And the idea is that you should focus on the things that you can control and you can have some influence on. And that's here in your local community. That's your family, that's your local government, and that's your state government. So focus on that, and the rest will fall in place. So thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. Thanks to all the candidates who showed up and introduced themselves to the voters, and thank you to all the potential voters out there who tuned in. So thanks, everybody, and don't forget to, I've just got a reminder, don't forget to tune in to WSLM on election night for